le trattative non dipendono da una parte, ma da tutte e due le parti, no? Speriamo che in Cina capiti qualcosa di cambio e che vengano a una più sincera conversazione con la Santa Sede e allora si può sperare in qualche cosa.
Welcome back to The World Over. That was my next guest speaking about China-Vatican relations back in 2013. He's the former Bishop of Hong Kong and is known as the new conscience of Hong Kong. Recently, he called into question the wisdom of the Holy See, making a deal with the Communist Chinese government regarding the appointment of bishops, a deal that has been rumored to be close at hand. Here to explain the complicated issues is His Eminence, Cardinal Joseph Zen of China. Your Eminence, wonderful to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
I want to start with your successor, Bishop John Tong, has said there is a deal in the offing, meaning an agreement between the Vatican and China, Beijing, where the Patriotic Association, which is the Chinese-run Catholic Church, would essentially appoint bishops and they would be approved or rejected by the Vatican. You don't like that deal. Why?
Yeah. First of all, we don't have any direct information about the deal, the content of the deal. But I believe Cardinal Tom must be very well informed. So as far as I can understand, they say the selection of bishops would start from an election by the clergy. Then the Bishops' Conference would present the names to the Holy See, and they say the Holy Father would have the last word. Now, I'm really not reassured by all this way of talking because, first of all, there's no real election in China. You know, not even the solemn elections in the People's Hall. You know,
the People's Republic.
All fake. The government manipulate the elections. You know the joke when people say our government is very efficient. We know the result of election the next day. Something no, the same evening, and the day know before the election. Okay? So election is not reliable, and also. There's no more election in the church of bishops because it's so complicated. You must have very exact rules. Now, how can you have election when in some diocese you have only 5-6 priests? Okay, so yeah, this is a big problem.
Explain to people, there's a Patriotic Association, which is a version of the Catholic Church, but it's run by the government. Then there's the so-called underground church, which is the church loyal to Rome, that has always been operating in the shadow of the government and under great oppression. When you say there's going to be an election among clergy, who is that clergy? Are they clergy of the Patriotic Association or clergy of the underground church?
Oh, obviously the clergy of the official church.
Of the Patriotic Association.
And by saying that it's by the clergy, it's already a progress because till now the election is by the electors, not specified how many. How is the proportion between the priests and the lay people in that group of electors? Now they specify that it's only the clergy. Okay, but still, it's not reassuring because.
Why is the Holy See so insistent on this deal? What is the purpose? What are they hoping to get out of making a deal with Communist China at this point?
Yeah, what they say is to have some more freedom and to have more opportunity to evangelize. But I really cannot understand if the whole process doesn't guarantee the real authority of the Pope, then it's wrong.
Because the process would be the Patriotic Association would vote among themselves.
It's the election. The second point is also very important. They say the Bishops' Conference would present names. Now, there is no such Bishops' Conference. It's fake. It's only the name.
So the bishops there are all the
slaves.
Patriotic Association
Actually,
members.
what runs the church nominally is what they call 一会一团. That means the Patriotic Association and the Bishops' Conference, always together. So that means the bishops do not count.
They don't have any autonomy.
No, not. And then the meeting are chaired by, used to be chaired by a layperson, whom we suspect to be even a party member, maybe. The famous Mr. Liu Banyan. You must have heard his name.
Yes, yes.
We call him the Pope of the official church. And now he was declared retiring the 5 years ago.
Right.
But he still was working all these 5 years. Now this time they say he has really to retire. Okay. So this time the big meeting chaired by government officials. Now, we had several photographs of past meetings of the Bishops' Conference, of this joint meeting of Patriotic Association and Bishops' Conference, chaired by government officials. So, to say that the names would be presented by Bishops' Conference means would be presented by the government. So the government manipulated the election, the government present name, and the Pope would have the last word. But that doesn't guarantee his real authority.
I wanted to ask you, and this is a line I've heard many times from some people who do business in China. They say there's virtually no difference between the underground bishops and the Patriotic Association bishops, that many of them simply adopt to the government protocols so they can exercise their ministry. But they're on an equal plane morally. Do you agree with that statement?
I said something similar. I was the first one to say this years ago.
Okay.
I meant that many people in that official church, they are, under pressure. They, in their heart, they were all, with the Pope. But then today I would hesitate to say the same thing. You know why? Because it is true that there are many good people in the official church. They are suffering the actual situation. But then, in the long run, they cannot defend themselves anymore, because you see, in the individual diocese they can still do something, but at national level they can do nothing at all. The system is already so well established, and it is objectively schismatic, because the government is running the church.
Yeah. I want to run a statement by you. This is by the Pope in an interview last month. Pope Francis said, in China, the churches are full. One can practice religion in China freely. Your thoughts?
We have the Catholic Church. To have a church full of people praying, singing, means much, but it may not be really the Catholic Church. If they are governed by bishops who are illegitimate or are even excommunicated, I suppose that churches are full just as other churches.
And there are at least three. I read three. You mentioned in something there were three bishops who have been excommunicated.
Yeah.
And they're still practicing in this church.
Yeah, sure. They pontificate solemnly, and some even dare to ordain priests.
But how can one say that there's a freedom of religion in China when we hear reports 1,200 crosses removed from the top of churches? We see the Patriotic Association rounding up people they consider outside of the norm. Is this ongoing? What is the church telling you, the underground church?
Yeah, sure. What you see is the freedom of worship. But it is not the complete freedom of faith.
It's an external show.
Yeah, worship. You can pray, you can sing, and many of those people are there maybe they are newcomers. They don't even understand what is the difference between above ground, underground. So they just like to be able to pray, to sing. But the big group, they just are there because they want to have a place where they can pray freely. But at certain moment, these people would realize that they are not really in the Catholic Church. They realize that their shepherds are not real shepherds. They are more officials of the government than the shepherds.
Do you believe the Vatican is being naive in its dealing with Beijing?
Now, you are forcing me to say something risky. I think the Pope may be naive. He has a big heart. He wants to embrace everybody. But, he comes from South America. And the problem there is they have this military government. They help the rich people to oppress the poor. And then if anybody comes out to defend the poor, he is called a communist, you see? And that may happen to some of his conference Jesuits, you see? So the Pope easily may have a sympathy for the communists, persecuted communists. Surely he knows what happens, by reading the books, etc. But he may not have that feeling, that direct experience of how harsh can be a totalitarian regime. You see, so he may have some illusion that you can dialogue, you can bargain with. But I doubt that people around him may be naive in the same sense, because I think some people a long time have this matter of church in China in their hands. They must have a lot of information.
What would you advise the Pope to do? Not go to China. You are advising against a trip there.
Oh, that I said clearly. And that when I meet the Pope, he never blamed me for saying that. And so he understands. Because I said that in this moment, actually he's saying he's not going to China the next year, he said, recently. But I said if the Pope goes to China in this moment, he would be manipulated by the government.
So what should be the Vatican's approach? How should they engage China at this point? Resist any deal-making where you would give up authority to appoint bishops?
Somebody said, I'm against a dialogue. How can that be? I have been 7 years working in China, from 89 to 96. For 7 years, living 6 months a year in China, teaching in the seminaries of the official church, and meeting the people from the Religious Affairs Bureau, from the Public Security. So I had a dialogue so many years and with so many people. Now, the dialogue must have a bottom line. You cannot, renounce to your identity. That was Pope Francis told the Asian bishops in Korea. Yeah, he said the first condition of a good dialogue is to be coherent with one's own identity. So I am not against dialogue, but then if you realize that the other part has no intention to accommodate, to come to bargain, they just want you to surrender, then at the end you say, okay, I'm sorry, we cannot have any conclusion. We see each other later. When you have new ideas, when I have new ideas, we may meet. But you see, you can't go to a dialogue with the decision that you must reach a conclusion. It doesn't depend on you.
What do you make of the Vatican Pontifical Academy of Sciences inviting a Chinese health official to attend a summit at the Vatican on organ trafficking, given China's record on organ trafficking?
Yeah, it's I doubt if they could ignore the facts. In Hong Kong, we have a newspaper by the Falun Gong. I read some of those. And there, you have the proof that they are making a business with these organs. Incredible.
Yeah,
now,
using condemned prisoners, executed prisoners, and the populace.
Yeah, all these accusations are well documented. And so I think it's very unwise for the Vatican to invite those people, to give them a
platform.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, there's been an enormous amount of controversy. I know it must have reached your ears about this dubia that 4 cardinals offered to Pope Francis, asking him to clarify the teaching on that exhortation, Amoris Laetitia. Your thoughts on the clarity of the teaching in that 8th chapter of the exhortation on divorced and remarried Catholics receiving communion?
Yeah, I suppose it's a very respectful request by those bishops, cardinals, to have a clear statement. I think it's their right to have an answer.
Very good. Cardinal Joseph Zen, thank you, Your Eminence, for being here. We'll check in with you soon and hope you'll come back before long.